Hi everyone, and welcome to the first Scratch Track video. In this video, I'll just be giving you guys a basic introduction to Scratch, what it is, how it can be used, and I'll even help you guys set up your own environment. Later on, you'll even see an example of Scratch projects that can be created. So let's get into all of this. Let's start off with what is Scratch? Well, Scratch is a free and visual-based programming language. This just means that it uses visuals or images to help teach users basic programming concepts. It's perfect for beginners, and if you're someone who just wants to get an intro to coding or just a general overview of basic concepts, Scratch is perfect for you. It uses block-like pieces or even like puzzle pieces to help represent different coding terms or statements, and it allows you to connect the pieces together to form more complex functions. And essentially, this will all be put together to make a big project. So, when did it start? Dating all the way back to 2007, Scratch was originally created, but it began being formed as soon as 2003. It was created by the Lifelong Kindergarten Group of Media Lab at MIT University, and it was made to help beginners in computer science understand different concepts using visual features. Once we start to use Scratch more, you guys will see how visual features are incorporated and how big of a part they play. Essentially, the name came from the term scratching, which means to take code in computing terminology. So moving on, let's just get an intro to what Scratch uses. Scratch uses something called sprites. Sprites are essentially characters or objects that can be manipulated, and your code's effectiveness is shown through the action of these sprites. So your code can apply to one or multiple sprites, and depending on what you've written, it can make the sprite move, speak, change their outfits, and even make them disappear. You can add different backgrounds and images to help give it a complete look. And if you're advanced, you may even be able to create complex projects and even a game. I personally, a few months back, have created my own Scratch game. It took a good amount of time because I was just getting new to Scratch and understanding how to use it, but I feel like all the hard work paid off. Depending on how advanced you are, you can create a game more or less complex than the one I've created. But let's take a look at this game to see essentially what I did and what kind of projects you guys can make. Hey guys, so this is the game that I've created. It's called Happy Hop. It's completely made using Scratch, and it's about a penguin who has rocks coming at it, and it has to jump over all of the rocks. As soon as the user hits 25 points, they've won the game. But over time, the rock speed increases, and you can see the speed of it displayed in with the other three variables up above. You can also see the game's won, and towards the end, if you win, it'll ask you if you want to save the game or not. So we'll start by clicking the green flag. You guys will hear some sound effects displayed, and as I play the game, the penguin will have specific sounds if it completes the jump over the rock and a different sound if it doesn't. So let's try it out. So I only made it to 3, but as you can see, it doesn't count the one that you lost on. Once a penguin touched the rock, it automatically ends the game and projects a crashing sound effect. We never made it past 2, but if we were to go on, the rock speed would essentially increase, going faster and faster. We can try this out one more time to see if I can make it further, but we'll see how this works. So again on the third one. Like before, I'm not that great at this game, but I'm sure with some practice people can be. If you guys want to try it out, just let me know. I can send you guys a link to play it. But essentially, if you are really passionate about Scratch, you can work towards building your own game like this. So now that I've taken you guys through what Scratch is and how it became to be started, and I've even showed you guys some examples of projects that can be created using Scratch, I want to help you guys set up an environment in this video. If you're unfamiliar with that term, it's essentially what you'll be using to work in. It'll be your workspace where you create your projects using Scratch. So first things first is go to your laptop or computer home screen. For me, this is the home screen. This is what I see whenever I open up my laptop. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to open up a web browser. This can be in anything like Safari, Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, and so on. So I'm going to open up Google Chrome, and you guys go ahead and open up whatever browser you prefer to use. All right, now we're going to make this full screen, and in the search bar, which is this bar right here, I want you guys to type in scratch.mit.edu. As you can see, for me, it comes up because I've typed this in before. But you're just going to type this in into the search bar and hit enter. It'll take you directly to the Scratch page. So if you already have an account, you can go ahead and sign in if you've used Scratch before or you know that you have an account. It's completely free, but always make sure you tell your parents before creating an account, which is what we're going to do right now. If you're new to Scratch or unfamiliar with it and don't have an account, I'll walk you through the steps of how you can create one. So once you're brought to this page, you want to go over here and click this button that says Join Scratch. This will bring you to a new screen that'll essentially help you create an account. It says to not use your real name, which is highly suggested. Just use a username that you're going to remember. So I'm going to do gencode-us for the account, and make sure you write your password down like the website advises to remember it, and don't share your password with other people unless it's someone important to you like your parents. So type in a password. I'm going to put in a password for this and type it in twice just to confirm it and click next. So you can choose to save your password. I will because I'm a forgetful person. It asks you to select the country you live in, so just select the country where you live. I live in the United States of America, so that's where I will select. And you can do when were you born. Just put in a date for that and move on. It'll ask you for your gender. You can enter all of this information in. And finally, it'll ask you for your email. So I'm going to do gencode.us@gmail.com. And finally, I'm going to click this button that says Create Your Account. So now that I'm part of Scratch, it gives me this button that says Let's Get Started. So I want you guys to go ahead and click this button. And we're brought to this home page. So now, how do we actually create a project? You may be wondering. There's so many things that it shows you here, but how do we create a project of our own? Well, you're going to go up to this top blue bar over here, and you're going to click Create. So this will bring you automatically to a new project. And we'll be able to start working on something and create blocks. As you can see that it's getting ready, it's getting this environment ready for us to start working. So when you create a Scratch project, it automatically gives you a sprite. This is what I was talking about. So as you can see, you've probably seen this cat multiple times. It was in a presentation and it's all over Scratch. This cat is actually the Scratch mascot, if you will. It represents Scratch, so if you see it more often, that's why. So when you create a new Scratch project, it automatically gives you this sprite for you to start working with. But this will be your workspace, this white blank spot over here. This will be where you can drag and drop different puzzle pieces. And if you don't want a puzzle piece, just put it back. So over here on the left, this bar will give you access to different colored puzzle pieces that you can use when you're trying to have your sprite do different things. It can be used motion, looks, sounds, events, control, sensing, operators, variables, and my blocks. So this may seem very overwhelming at the moment, but I'll take you through what each of these sections means and how they can be used. We don't have to understand everything at the beginning because that's what time is for. Over time, you'll get a better understanding of how everything works. So there's different tabs up here as well. You can see there's a tab that says code. Next to it, a tab that says costumes, where you can adjust what your sprite is wearing. And a tab that says sounds. You can choose different sounds, just like you can choose different sprites. So let's go back to the code tab. Again, this is your workspace. This is where all of your code will be displayed. Now, you may be wondering what this green flag is for. If you remember in the demo I showed you of the game that I created, the green flag essentially means go. It means start. When you click this green flag, all of the code that you've written will be enacted. Right now, we don't have any code, so nothing will happen when you click the green flag. And this red button right next to it, this octagon, is meant to signify stop. And it just means it's going to stop your program from running if it is. Right now, it's faded out because our program's not running. There is no code yet. Over here, we have this control tab where you can change the name of your sprite. We can change it to Scratch if we want to call this sprite Scratch. And these X and Y coordinates essentially signify the position of your Scratch or your sprite. If we move it here, you can see the X and Y coordinates change. If we change the size to 150, it gets bigger, and back to 100, it gets smaller. And the direction you can change depending on which way you want your sprite to face. We can change it to 50. It'll face a 50-degree angle. But for purposes of just showing you guys what this means, we're going to change it back to 90 degrees. And finally, there's this backdrop that you can add, and we'll get into all of this later on. I just want to show you guys the basics of what Scratch is. So I'm going to recenter this object, and here we have the sprite back into the middle. So next step is naming the project. What do we want to call this? Because we're just learning at the moment, I'm going to call this project Demo 1. And now we have a new project officially that's no longer called Untitled, but it's called Demo 1. And we can click this Save Now button just to make sure everything's saved. And over here, it should pop up. Now it's gone because I just saved it. It'll inform you if your project is saved or not. Now we're going to go and click this folder right here in the blue. And you can see that it just takes us to a new page called My Stuff. In this, it'll show you all of the projects you have. If you're in a new account, like I am right now, you'll only have the project that we just created. But if you already have Scratch and you've used it a few times, you'll have some other projects shown here. Now, if you want to get back to the project that you just created, in this case, it's Demo 1, we can simply click See Inside to go back into the project. So as it's loading, I just want to explain to you, this is just the basics of setting everything up. And I'm just teaching you guys to get more comfortable with the Scratch environment. You guys can play around with a bunch of different things. If you want to see, this is the languages that you can choose. I'm going to stick to English. Over here, you can go back to your profile, My Stuff, which is what we just visited when we click this folder, account settings, or sign out. So I've given you guys a pretty good introduction to the Scratch environment and the Scratch workspace. If you want, you can go and explore a little bit more, play around with some stuff. Next week, we'll have a new video out teaching you guys some of the basics of the Scratch pieces and helping you get into moving your character and being more hands-on with this kind of project. But I hope you guys enjoyed this introduction to Scratch. I know I'm really looking forward to helping you guys learn how to use Scratch and creating different projects. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next week. And like every time, make sure you contact me if you have any questions or if you want access to the PowerPoints I make. Bye!